Welcome to VSkills YouTube channel. In this video, you will learn about the top interview questions for Prevention of Sexual Harassment, POSH. So, let's get started. Question number 1. What is sexual harassment? The answer is: sexual harassment is unwelcome sexual behavior that's offensive, humiliating or intimidating. It can be written, verbal or physical, and can happen in person or online. Anybody can experience sexual harassment, regardless of their gender. When it happens at work, school or uni, sexual harassment may amount to a form of discrimination. Question number 2. How do you prevent sexual harassment in the workplace? The answer is: some of the effective ways to prevent sexual harassment in the workplace. First, make it crystal clear that sexual harassment prevention is a company priority. Second, make sure that employees and management understand what sexual harassment is. Third, keep sexual harassment prevention training positive. Fourth, enlist employees as social influencers. Fifth, enlist employees in ensuring a harassment-free workplace. Question number 3. What does unwelcome mean? The answer is: if the recipient does not consent, any conduct or behavior is undesirable, and considers it to be offensive. The fact that the recipient or victim is not complaining says nothing about the quality of the service. This does not infer or imply that the behavior is acceptable. Some remarks and advances are intrinsically obnoxious and offensive. Question number 4. What are the different types of harassment? The answer is: some of the different types of discriminatory harassment are harassment based on gender, religion, disability and sexual orientation, age-related harassment, sexual harassment, and quid pro quo sexual harassment. Question number 5. What are the causes of sexual harassment? The answer is: there are many causes of sexual harassment, but the most important one is the culture and values system and the relative power and status of the men and women in our society. Question number 6. What if the accused employee claims that the incident was only a joke? The answer is: it's fairly uncommon for an employee accused of sexual harassment to argue that it wasn't meant that way or that it was just a joke. If the person filing the complaint believes he or she is being sexually harassed as defined by law, it is still considered sexual harassment at work. Question number 7. What are the Vishaka guidelines in the law? The answer is: the Vishaka rules are a collection of recommendations established by the Supreme Court of India to safeguard the safety of women at work and to establish procedures for dealing with complaints of sexual harassment in the workplace. Question number 8. What do you mean by the Indian Penal Code? The answer is: India's official criminal code is the Indian Penal Code, IPC. It is a comprehensive code that aims to cover all aspects of criminal law. Question number 9. What is the Indian Evidence Act? The answer is: the Imperial Legislative Council of India passed the Indian Evidence Act in 1872, during the British Raj, and it contains a set of regulations and related concerns governing the admissibility of evidence in Indian courts of law. Question number 10. What is contract law? The answer is: in Section 2(h) of the Indian Contract Act, 1872, the term contract is defined as an arrangement enforceable by law. To put it another way, a contract is anything that is a legal agreement that is enforceable by the law of the land. This concept contains two important components: agreement and enforceable by law. So, in order to comprehend a contract in light of the Indian Contract Act, 1872, we must first define and explain these two pivots in the contract definition. Question number 11. What is torts? The answer is: a tort is a civil wrong that causes a claimant to incur loss or harm, resulting in legal culpability for the person who does the tortuous act in common law jurisdiction. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, negligence, financial losses, injuries, violation of privacy, and a variety of other things are all examples. Question number 12. What do the merits of the case mean? The answer is: merits, in law, are the inherent rights and wrongs of a legal case, absent of any emotional or technical bias. The evidence is applied solely to cases decided on the merits, and any procedural matters are discounted. The term comes from Old French mérite, meaning reward or moral worth. Question number 13. What is POSH Act 2013? The answer is: the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition, and Redressal Act, 2013, also known as the POSH Act, is an Indian law that aims to make workplaces safer for women by preventing, forbidding, and redressing acts of sexual harassment against them. Question number 14. What do you mean by SHE-box? The answer is: this sexual harassment electronic box, SHE-box, is an attempt by the Government of India to provide single-window access to every woman, regardless of her work status, whether she is employed in the organized or unorganized, private or public sector, to facilitate the filing of sexual harassment complaints. Question number 15. What are the most important things I need to do to implement the POSH policy in my company? The answer is: to implement the POSH policy in your organization, you could take the following steps. First, defining the term sexual harassment. Second, outline a step-by-step mechanism for filing a complaint and managing the investigation's outcome. Third, create a committee to handle the situation by the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace, Prevention, Prohibition, and Redressal Act, 2013. Fourth, educate your workers on the policies. Fifth, educate your employees on how to avoid sexual harassment. Question number 16. What is ICC and POSH? The answer is: Internal Complaints Committee, now referred to as Internal Committee, was included in the POSH Act 2013 as a feature. Every organization should have an IC that records complaints and investigates them fairly and impartially. Question number 17. What do you mean by quid pro quo harassment? The answer is: when a person offers or tries to exchange job benefits for sexual favors, it is known as quid pro quo harassment. As a result, it happens between an employee and someone in a position of authority, such as a supervisor, who has the power to award or deny job perks. Question number 18. How do you define indirect harassment? The answer is: a photograph, joke, email, vulgar comment, or any other sexually explicit image may offend a person, even if it was not intended for the victim. It is called indirect harassment in such instances. Question number 19. What criteria does one use to determine what constitutes harassment? The answer is: in a situation of sexual harassment, the operational term is unwelcome. If the person being harassed feels a certain phrase, gesture, or action is unwelcome, it can be reported. As a result, it is critical to specify the POSH policy with care. Question number 20. What if the complaint is without merit? The answer is: other enabling policies, such as Employee Code of Conduct, Falsification of Information, Malicious Act Policy, General Workplace Harassment or Bullying Policy, and other rules that support decision-making when a case of harassment emerges, are required in addition to the POSH policy. Question number 21. Some organizations have complaint boxes. What should we do in this circumstance if there is an anonymous complaint? The answer is: first, perform a discreet inquiry. If the complaint has merit, approach the allegedly harassed employee and request that they make a formal complaint so that the policy may be implemented. It cannot be pursued further in the absence of a formal complaint. Question number 22. What happens if my company does not have a POSH policy, even though it is required? The answer is: if you don't have a POSH policy in place, you're putting your company at risk. You could face the following consequences if you file a formal complaint with a district office or a police station. Firstly, affliction is punishable by the punishment of up to 50,000 rupees. Secondly, if an employer commits a second offense, the punishment is doubled and can result in the cancellation of your license, non-renewal, or cancellation of your company's registration. Question number 23. Is it possible for a guy to make a sexual harassment complaint against a woman? The answer is: only sexual harassment against women is covered by the Sexual Harassment Act. Individual organizations, on the other hand, may allow gender-neutral complaints under their procedures, though these would not be considered under the Act. Question number 24. Is it possible to file a complaint against a coworker for conduct that occurred outside of the workplace? The answer is: this will be determined by the facts and circumstances, and each case must be carefully evaluated. If the harassment occurred outside of the workplace but the complainant and respondent's relationship comes from the workplace, for example, someone who only knows you from the office and subsequently stalks you, the Sexual Harassment Act may apply. However, if you agree to meet a co-worker outside of the office for a personal reason that has nothing to do with your job, this does not constitute being at work. Question number 25. Who is responsible for handling sexual harassment complaints? The answer is: Every company with more than 10 workers is required by the Sexual Harassment Act to have an IC to which sexual harassment complaints can be filed. If you have a complaint against a company with fewer than 10 employees or someone for whom you work in any other capacity, or the employer, you can go to the local committee that the government has set up at the district level. Question number 26. What is the procedure for filing a complaint with the internal committee? The answer is: complaints must be sent in writing to the internal committee, usually to the presiding officer, although they can also be mailed or emailed to any of the internal committee's members. A written complaint must include a description of the incidents, including pertinent dates, times, and locations, the respondent's identity, and the complainant's professional relationship with the accused harasser. 6 copies of the complaint, as well as supporting documents and the names and addresses of the witnesses, must be supplied. Question number 27. Is documentation necessary? The answer is yes, proper documentation is critical. In their annual publish, each organization is required to report the number of sexual harassment cases. Documentation also protects you from future accusations of sloppy inquiry. Question number 28. What is the POSH Awareness Course? The answer is: the POSH Awareness Course teaches the POSH Act 2013, as well as what sexual harassment is. It raises awareness on how to prevent workplace harassment of women. Question number 29. What is the requirement of POSH training? The answer is: conducting POSH training of employees helps them to get aware of their rights under the POSH Act. This helps women to come out and report any sexual misconduct from a college or a senior in the workplace and so ensures a safe working environment. Question number 30. What happens if a female employee of another company accuses one of my employees of sexual harassment? The answer is: in this scenario, the inquiry and remedy will be handled by the company where the female employee works. From time to time, your company will need to assist with the investigation process. For more such videos, subscribe to our channel.